The calabash in Kamsi's chest cracked open. When the drum of destiny beats, even the deaf begin to dance. The woman stood tall, her heels tapping against the dusty village road as she walked towards Kamsi. The villagers watched, their faces hidden behind wrinkled hands, whispering in hushed tones. Who was this woman, and why had she come for Kamsi? Kamsi stood frozen, the words Obinna sent me ringing in her head like a drumbeat. She could barely breathe. She looked around, but there was no one. No one who could help her understand what was happening. Are you Kamsi? The woman asked again, her voice smooth like honey, but carrying an authority that felt like a queen's command. Kamsi nodded slowly, unsure of what was happening. I'm Mrs. Walker, the woman said, offering her hand. Obinna sent me to find you. You've been chosen. The bird that follows a strange path always ends up where it's meant to be. The words hung in the air like a challenge, and Kamsi's heart started to race. Chosen? For what? Mrs. Walker studied her for a moment, then said, You don't have to stay here any longer. You've got a better future waiting for you, if you're brave enough to take it. Kamsi shook her head. What future? I have nothing, ma'am. I'm just a village girl. I don't belong anywhere. The greatest trees once grew from small seeds. Mrs. Walker smiled softly. No, Kamsi, you belong exactly where you are meant to be, and I'm here to help you get there. She handed Kamsi an envelope, sealed with a golden wax stamp. Inside there was a letter. It was from Obinna. Kamsi, I told you I would come. I found a way for you to leave. There's a scholarship waiting for you in the city, a chance to study, to be more than just a girl who carries water. Trust me, trust your heart. I'll be waiting for you. Kamsi's hand trembled as she read the letter. She couldn't believe it. She was still here, in the dirt, with the weight of her broken past on her back. But Obinna, he believed in her, and now there was a way out. The journey was long, but it was filled with possibility. Mrs. Walker's car sped through the winding roads, away from the village, and toward a future that Kamsi could barely comprehend. She sat by the window, staring out at the world she was leaving behind. The village, the endless struggles, her aunt's cruelty. All of it was fading into the rearview mirror. But even as the road stretched out before her, Kamsi couldn't help but feel a tight knot in her chest. It wasn't fear, it was something deeper. Guilt. She thought of Agu, her faithful goat, who was back at the village with no one to care for him. She thought of the way her father had left her without a word, disappearing into the forest like he was nothing more than a ghost. She thought of Mama Ifeoma, hard and cruel, yes, but family. Even the bird that flies to distant lands still hears the call of home. She turned to Mrs. Walker, her voice trembling. I don't know if I'm ready for this. What if I fail? Mrs. Walker smiled warmly. You won't fail, Kamsi. Not with the heart you have. You're not running away. You're running toward your destiny. The city was nothing like what Kamsi had imagined. It was alive, loud, people walking with purpose, cars honking in a chaotic rhythm, buildings towering like giants in the sky. Kamsi's heart fluttered. The streets felt like a different world, a world she'd only seen in the movies. And now, here she was, standing in the middle of it all. Mrs. Walker took her to a large modern building where the scholarship office was located. They entered the cool air-conditioned room, and Kamsi felt the weight of her small-town life dissolve just a little bit. The seed that was planted in darkness grows in light. The head of the scholarship committee, a stern woman with glasses, looked at Kamsi with a raised eyebrow. So you're the one, she said, scanning Kamsi's form with a sharp gaze. Obinna speaks highly of you, but I have to ask, what makes you think you're ready for this? Kamsi stood tall, her voice steady. Because I've carried pain, and I know what it means to fight for a dream. I won't let anything stop me from becoming the woman I'm meant to be. There was a long silence. As Kamsi stepped out of the office with the scholarship in her hand, she could feel the weight of her journey pressing down on her. It wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a symbol, a key to a life she had never imagined. But as she walked into the bustling streets of the city, she felt a nagging sense of doubt. Success wasn't free. It came with a price. The next few weeks were filled with new experiences, new friends, new challenges, new professors who treated her like she was already somebody. But there was one thing that weighed heavily on her mind. Obina. She hadn't seen him since that day he left the village. She missed him more than she cared to admit. Every time she passed a quiet corner or a peaceful street, she wondered if he was out there somewhere, waiting for her to come back. A man who truly loves never forgets, no matter how far the road goes. Then one day she received another letter from Obina. It was short, but it burned with truth. Kamsi, I'm proud of you. But remember, you can't rise alone. The love you've always wanted, the peace you've longed for, it's all within you. Trust yourself, and everything else will follow. Her heart swelled with a fierce hope. He was there, watching her from afar, supporting her, loving her. The river that runs too fast eventually finds its own course. And so, Kamsi's journey continued. No longer the girl who carried water for others, she was now the woman who would one day change the world. The journey was long, but Kamsi didn't feel tired anymore. The first few weeks of school had been brutal. Every night she fell asleep with aching bones and a mind that never stopped working, but she didn't complain. This was her life now. This was the battle she had chosen. And in her chest burned the quiet fire of a lioness who refused to surrender. Every class felt like a war, but she fought each battle. Every exam was a test of her soul, but she passed them one by one. She didn't let the whispers of self-doubt drown her spirit. Her body may have been worn, but her heart, it was relentless. A child of the storm does not fear the wind, for it knows the rain will pass. Kamsi was determined. She wasn't going to fail. Not now. Not after everything she had fought for. She had crossed the river of struggle, and she would not drown in the waters of fear. By the time Kamsi had completed her first semester, she had made a name for herself. Her grades were impressive, but it was the quiet strength she carried that earned her respect from both professors and classmates. She was not the loudest in the room, but when she spoke, people listened. When she worked, she did so with purpose. But Kamsi was still haunted by the emptiness left by Obina. Every day she woke up, she thought of him, his promise, his words that echoed like a sweet melody in her mind. You will rise. But where was he? Why had he disappeared? Her classmates would talk about their families, their relationships, their weekends. She would smile and nod, but inside her thoughts were always miles away. One rainy afternoon, as she walked home from class, Kamsi noticed a man across the street. His face was familiar, and before she could blink, he was gone. Obina. Was it him? The sight of him sent a jolt of electricity through her veins. But when she crossed the street to follow, the crowd swallowed him up. He was gone. Again. The eagle that flies across the sky does not fear the distance, but it always returns to the nest. A few months passed, and the ache in Kamsi's heart began to dull. She focused on her studies, buried herself in her books, and kept her eyes on the future. But the loneliness, it remained. She sat in the university's quiet garden one afternoon, gazing at the trees as the wind whistled through the leaves. Suddenly, something shifted in the air. The hairs on her neck stood up. Her heart beat faster. It was like a voice deep inside her was speaking. No, whispering. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, remembering Obina's words. She prayed silently. Lord, show me what I need to see. Guide me. And then it happened. The voice, so clear and calm, echoed in her soul. Obina was sent to you, not as a man, but as a guide. And when the time is right, you will understand. The world felt still for a moment. Kamsi opened her eyes. Obina, he had been sent to her, not to stay, but to guide her through the hardest parts of her journey. His disappearance wasn't abandonment, it was fate. The wind that blows carries a message, but only the patient can hear it. Kamsi smiled through her tears. She understood now, and she knew wherever Obina was, he was watching her. She was not alone. It was nearing the end of her second year. Kamsi had become one of the top students in her department. Professors had begun to take notice, speaking of her as a model student. She was no longer invisible. She was seen. The pain of the past had faded, replaced with a fierce clarity. But Kamsi knew there was more to this journey. She had dreamed of working in the big leagues, the companies that ruled the world. But would they see her? Would they believe in her? Her opportunity came one cold January morning. World Tech Solutions, a massive tech company, was offering a highly coveted internship to the best students across the country. The application process was rigorous, and the competition was fierce. But Kamsi applied, not for anyone else, but for herself. She was ready. Her heart raced as the weeks passed, each day wondering if she would be chosen. Then one morning, the email arrived. She had been selected. The mountain that seems too high becomes smaller when you take the first step. Kamsi couldn't believe it. She had done it. The internship was the door to everything she had dreamed of, and it was just the beginning. The internship at World Tech Solutions was intense. Kamsi found herself constantly pushing boundaries, working late nights, and contributing to high-level projects. But every challenge only made her stronger. She was in the right place. It didn't take long before her hard work caught the eye of her boss, Mr. Okoro. After a few months, he called her into his office and offered her a full-time position. "You've exceeded all expectations, Kamsi," he said. "We want you on the team. You'll be leading a new project starting next month. I have no doubt you'll change the future of this company." Kamsi felt the weight of the moment. She had fought for this for years, and now she had made it. The fire that doesn't burn you will only make you stronger. Kamsi had finally arrived. Years had passed since Kamsi left the village. Her success was undeniable. She had worked her way to the top, earning respect, recognition, and even a position that many people would have died for. She had achieved everything she set out to do. But there was one thing left. She couldn't ignore the pull of her roots, the village, her family, her father's house that still stood empty. One rainy afternoon, Kamsi made the decision. She was going back, not to relive the pain, but to show them what she had become, to show her aunt what it meant to reject a child. Kamsi arrived in the village with strength in her stride. It wasn't the same girl who had left. It was a woman who had built herself from the ashes of her past. She walked with purpose, with the pride of a lioness who had earned her place. When she reached her aunt's house, Mama Ifeoma was sitting outside, peeling yam. She looked up, her eyes widening at the sight of Kamsi. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Kamsi broke the silence. "You treated me like I was nothing," Kamsi said, her voice steady. "You mocked my dreams and told me I would amount to nothing. But look at me now. The tree that is bent cannot be straightened, but it can still grow." Mama Ifeoma lowered her head, shame filling her face. Kamsi saw the regret in her eyes. "I've built my life, Aunt, and I will never be your prisoner again." Kamsi stayed in the village for a few days, sharing her success, her journey, and her dreams with the people who had once doubted her. They listened, amazed at the woman she had become. Her father came to see her one afternoon, his eyes red with emotion. "I didn't know," he said. "I didn't know you would become this. I was blind." The hand that feeds you today is the hand that will lift you tomorrow. But Kamsi wasn't angry anymore. She had forgiven the past. Her heart was at peace. Years passed, and Kamsi's legacy only grew. She became a name that inspired others to rise, to fight, and to believe in their potential. She continued to break barriers, to lead, to create a life of purpose and passion. And when people asked her, "How did you get here?" she would smile and say, "It wasn't just me. It was God, it was the struggle, and it was the belief that no matter what, I was always meant to be more." The eagle that soars above the clouds never forgets the earth from which it came. Kamsi's story is just the beginning. You've witnessed the rise of a woman who refused to let her past define her, who fought through adversity and never gave up. Now it's your turn. Are you ready to break through your own struggles and rewrite your own story? Like Kamsi, you have the strength to rise, to break free, and to chase your dreams. No matter where you start, you can always rise higher. So if Kamsi's journey has inspired you, take action today. Like this video to show your support for resilience and strength. Subscribe to join the journey and never miss a powerful story. Share your own story or thoughts on how you're breaking through the barriers in your life in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. Tag someone who needs to hear Kamsi's story, because together we rise. The future is yours to claim, just like Kamsi claimed hers. Now what's stopping you?